Oh, you're right. Okay, we're now. Yeah.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Very excited to have our final webinar on the customer conference series. We look forward to more in-live conferences. But we've got Jordan Coughlin, Technical Project Manager here, who is going to show you real-world results from 2024 innovations and 2025 previews. And we've got our EVP of Products and Strategy, John Murcott.
We're tag teaming here.
Exactly. It's good to tell you everything else. My computer's broken, so we're sitting next to each other. And I am Ari Khan, CEO for HawkSearch. So with no further ado, let's kick it off. Great. Okay, today we're going to take a look at our roadmap, our product roadmap. Who's
Jordan's got to get to the next slide.
Great. Okay, our strategy with HawkSearch is to help you drive revenue. We do that in three ways. We increase traffic to your site, we increase conversion of that traffic, and we increase the average order size for each one of your sales. Now, of course, these are abstract concepts. Not everybody is selling. Sometimes your idea of conversion is providing content to individuals, but for the most part, it's the same formula. Success is the result of traffic, getting people to come to your site, conversion, getting them to do something, and order size, getting them to pull content. And all of the features within HawkSearch fulfill this goal in different ways. 2024 was a huge year from an innovation perspective. We've made a lot of investments over the past years. We've done a lot of stuff with artificial intelligence over the last few years, but we've all seen it in the news. Lots of great capabilities have matured in that respect, and we were well positioned to be able to leverage them and had 5 releases for you in 2024. Let's take a look at what those are really briefly. Great. Okay. So in the smart search category, this was the biggest in the first part of our release schedule for 2024, where we started off with concept search. Concept search allowing your customers who may not always know the keywords, the best keywords to find the products that they're searching for, but they know what their goals are. They know broadly what they're trying to do. And they might also have multilingual requirements. With concept search, your customers are able to enter a goal and find all of the products that can help them fulfill that goal. And we did this using the large language technology that has now become more and more mature over the last year. But then we took it to the next level with visual search. Sometimes people don't necessarily want to describe what they are doing. They might be in the field standing right in front of the product that they want to buy, and they can pull up their camera and take a picture in real time and find the products that they need right there with an image of the product. Or sometimes they also want to just describe the product. A good example is Hewlett-Packard, a customer of ours who sells these gamer mice that have little holes in it so your hands don't sweat on the mouse. I wouldn't know that that thing's called a game mouse. I'd call it a mouse with holes in it. Again, image search allows you to describe what something looks like and find the products that you need. And all of these capabilities are now available in Smart Search. Then we took it to the next level with Smart Response, using generative technologies to, when you have complex search results with Smart Summary, to have an easy to understand summary in bullet point fashion with even detailed links in it, totally customizable for you to describe how you want your customers to see summaries, but to summarize complex results. And then with the same generative technology to further refine results with conversational search, so that your site will ask clarifying questions to your customers when the results are too broad, so that they can more quickly find the product that they need and buy it before their attention span causes them to get off on the next text and not actually close the transaction. And a lot of this was built above and beyond our traditional machine learning capabilities with AI multiplier, content assistant, and synonym generator. At the end of the day, we're seeing a 23% increase in average order value. Just imagine what that would do for you to have a 23% increase in order value. We're seeing 52% increase in new users, 20% increase in site conversions. You multiply these together, you got 20% increase in conversion and 23% in order value. I think you can hit your targets for the year with those sort of numbers. These products are all available for you now, and they don't require ripping your site apart and doing a bunch of implementations. You can get them right out of your HawkSearch interface. So 2024 was a hugely innovative year for us. And a lot of this is done with real world input from you. And we got a lot of it at the customer conference, but all of our team members are listening very closely to what your needs are. And that is what is driving these results. We could have implemented a million different things last year. The things that we implemented came from you, and they produced real results. We're going to do it again next year. Next slide, please. So in 2025, again, user-driven innovation. We really value your feedback. All of our investments are based on your demands. We don't want to go off in the wrong direction. Where we are, in addition to our goal-based multilingual concept search, our multimodal image and visual search, and the generative capabilities, we're going to be delivering. John's going to get into the roadmap, and Jordan's going to show you what we've got. Detailed analytics with Smart Lake and reporting, so that all of the data behind your site, conversion information, traffic information, keyword results, and so forth, are all available to you in a lake for you to have out-of-the-box reporting from us, but also access to the raw data where you can use your own business analytics tools to create your own reports above and beyond that, and to have detailed analysis. Now, in addition to the Smart Lake, we're bringing Smart Bridge to you, which will allow detailed integration with AI agents, with other systems, smart integration, so that data, that analytic data, is not just for reporting, but it can also drive decisions. And that leads to agentic AI, automation, smart agents, so that when you bring data and integration, next step is automation and workflow, so that you don't have to be the one that says, gee, I need to take a look at my site every day and determine if a keyword is producing bad results. Would you like to have a smart agent that tells you, hey, take a look at this keyword? And by the way, I also have some synonym suggestions for you that convert much better, so that we can solve that problem. You've got bigger things to focus on than watching keywords every day. And we're going to automate that for you and give you smart recommendations to further improve your traffic conversion and average order value. Let's get into the details. John?
Great. Thanks, Ari. I need to get a wider view on my camera here. But hey, everyone. Let's just go through this really quick, because you probably noticed last year we used Greek gods because we're so excited about all this smart stuff. Starting with Zeus, then Athena, and now Hermes. So that completes technically what people refer to as RAG. So that's all the retrieval capabilities, like searching by image, searching by concept, etc. But with a really important aspect, and we're going to get to this with Jordan, is unified search. Because on the one hand, it's interesting, you guys have two options, or even three, where I can search by concept, I can search by keyword, and I can describe the image. But can I have one search bar? So that's what unified search is, and we'll go through that. And we did have some, as Ari was saying, innovations around the performance of embedding, because the good news for you is you don't have to change anything in your indexing process with HawkSearch, but there is extra work that HawkSearch does in the back end to generate all these vectors and get them into the system. So we've done a huge improvement there. Now, when this says Q1, when you talk to a product person like me or Jordan, you normally think, oh yeah, you mean March 31st or maybe even March 33rd or something like that. But this is early in the year. This comes out early January. We're already showing it to people. So even if you wanted to see it as a beta, you could. But then, as Ari said, that the other aspect of AI is Gen AI. So after I get the search results back, what can you do with that? And Smart Bridge is that connector that takes the data that comes back from your search results, calls the Gen AI and says, oh, well, let me summarize that for you, or let me start a conversation. And one of the aspects, and it is kind of in coordination with Hermes, is we believe we're the only vendor that lets a customer bring their own model. If you have a model that you would prefer to use for this embedding that we're talking about here and to train it, we can do that. We'll host it. We'll use that for creating your embeddings. And that's a big part of SmartBridge, giving more and more ability, number one, on the models you use, but also the prompts that you use in your communication, because the way that you want to send that information back in Smart Response is also important. And you may have different scenarios where you communicate in different ways to different visitors. Now, Ari already said this, but then after that, there's so much more data that's coming in now. And you would want to see like, oh my God, there's all these new dimensions. I have the visual dimension, other dimensions, even considering that a visual search could have analytics. You might say, that's impossible unless you're going to show me all of the images that were uploaded, but it's not, because we do know, and this is the way that these models work, we know what the image was. Was it an image of a hat? Was it an image of a socket? Was it an image of a circuit? Was it an image of a wire? Was it an image of whatever? And then we can store and say, in the image search, a lot of people are searching for this kind of product. So now that we have all of this kind of additional technology, now we can track all of it with advanced analytics. The final thing is, and we get this question all the time, Ari, is, well, I want to try this, but I also want to try that. And I want to see which one does better. So being able to experiment at the highest level is a key part. Now, in order to do that and track it, you need the analytics. So the analytics comes first. That's more advanced. Then you can start saying, now I want to experiment, et cetera. There's one other part for automation, because there's certainly a lot of interest to say, wow, we have a lot of information. There's a lot going on. Can't your system analyze what's going on inside of HawkSearch and make those recommendations? So the way that I look at it and describe it to people is to say, this smart response, which is I get data, I analyze it, I call the Gen AI, and it gives me an answer. We take it from the website, which is what we're obviously focusing on now for your visitors, and we point it to your internal audience, your merchandisers, marketing people, et cetera, using HawkSearch with access to all the analytics, and start making those suggestions. That was a long slide. I promise to go faster on the other ones. And Jordan, we want to see some of this demo here. Yeah, so this part, we've gone through here. So why don't we go to the next slide? So Ari brought this up in the beginning, but the bottom line here is relevance. We want to make sure that people get the right results. So when we talk about these additional options here, it's not like we're saying keyword goes away. It doesn't. You still have that value. But just imagine being able to add on top of it, especially in a unified experience, smart search capabilities and smart response. That's how you increase the relevance. So we're certainly not leaving that traditional keyword. It's still always a critical aspect. But the more options you can provide, the more relevancy you'll have, and that drives your conversion. All right, well, let's get to the first feature here. So I kind of described it and teed it up for you, Jordan. But the bottom line is, even though it could be compelling, where you say, okay, here's my regular search bar, but you know what? I'm going to have this little button here that says, hey, try this way of searching with concept. But there could be a scenario where you say you don't want to do that. So teeing you up here, Jordan, to show off unified search.
Yeah, great. Thanks, John, for the handoff. I wanted to get started here by just showing you an example of how that relevancy builds on top of itself. So, for example, we have keyword here. We all know that a traditional search like shoes will obviously pull up shoes. But what if we're asking a question or have more of a goal-oriented search? It's not going to perform nearly as well. So we could do a search for example, what should my child bring skiing? And obviously, keyword, there's not really much in here.
It's not a bad thing to bring, Jordan.
Yeah.
But I'm sure your adventure site has more than that hat.
Yeah, definitely. So when we're looking at these results, obviously very poor in comparison to what you and I would understand as good results. So we can take the same query here. You saw me toggle over to concept search and ask the same question. And right away, you'll see some much more relevant results. You have balaclavas, you have quarter zip space layers, some snowshoes, maybe for other activities on your winter trip. But again, like John said earlier, can I get this in a single search bar? Well, now you can. So here we have our unified search, and this leverages both our keyword and concept searches at the query level. So this isn't an or situation. We're talking about and. So when you make a search here, it looks at the keyword results, it looks at the concept result, and then compares the scores of those results and merges them together, and then applies a boost if the results exist in both query sets. So we can make the same requests in here, like shoes, and you'll get your shoe results, but you can ask the same sort of question: what should my child bring skiing? And you'll get even more relevant results than just concept search, because it's also doing the keyword search within that as well. John, do you have anything to add in here?
Well, what I just like is child is not, for example, in any of those descriptions. I have to be pretty familiar with those. That's where the value of the model comes. It understands, like you were before, these are all kids things because you said kid or child, even though those aren't in the description. But yeah, great overview.
Yeah, it's a great example of technology solving a real world problem, right?
Yeah.
The guy who's out there trying to buy clothes for his kid going skiing isn't thinking about, do I want to have an AI based concept search? Do I want to have a keyword search? They just have a problem they want to solve. And with unified search, you don't have to think about any of that. You just state a goal, or you state a description of what you want. Either way, you're going to get good results.
Although I will say we are still leaving the other options. So if you want to just call concept search and not include the unified, it's just you're passing a parameter. You're always hitting the same search endpoint. It's just what parameter are you passing in. Concept search, keyword search, unified search, image search, visual search. It's always hitting the same endpoint.
Yeah. And I just wanted to elaborate on one thing for all the technical nerds out there. This is the embedding model that we're using here is completely configurable. If we do a proof of concept with you and you see that the results are maybe a little less than what you were expecting, we can go ahead and train an embedding model to represent your data set better. Like if you have a niche like machining business or something like that, where a larger model will not represent the data set that you have, we can work with you on that.
Cool. All right, let's continue. That's a big one. But yes, believe it or not, there's more. So let's keep going here. So that kind of completes the Hermes aspect. So we didn't show off the visual search. I'm assuming most of you have seen it, but you upload a picture, it finds the picture. So we're happy to show you if you didn't see that. But remember now, this is the big focus. And leveraging, if you would go to the next one, Jordan, on the smart response side, you might say, well, okay, why are you doing it? Other than the fact that Ari said that this is what our customers are asking for. But it is something in the market, Gartner in particular is saying that more and more experiences in the future, which were traditionally understood to be search, are going to be more conversational. And they kind of use this Gen AI based conversational UI pattern. That's a mouthful, but that's what they're saying. More and more of search is going to be conversational. And that's at the heart of what smart response is. And we see it all the time. I'm sure when you go on Google, you notice I search for something. Yes, I get all the search results, but more and more often Google is writing an answer, and it usually has that little sparkle on the top left that says, look, the Gen AI read all the stuff that came back in the search results and is giving you the actual answer. And that's what our smart response does. So let's just go to the next one, and we'll show you one. I think I want to highlight one more thing. Yeah. So agents is a concept you're going to hear more and more of. Ari was just had a big AI conference. Everyone's talking about agents. There is one other aspect here, because you're always going to have some of the technical nature of a Jordan setting up some of the underlying infrastructure, but non-technical people can instruct this smart response experience through a prompt. So what we're doing is we're exposing that ability to say, I want you to communicate this way. And these are other considerations to have. I'm sure you're familiar with this concept of a prompt engineer is a term sometimes that's used, or just in general. So we're taking out a user experience that would normally be in the code and say, we're going to let the non-technical person, the prompt person, create the prompt so that we merge our capabilities from smart grids that understand what's the model we're using, was it trained or not, what have you, with here's the prompt and the way that I want you to communicate. So you'll see a default prompt when Jordan does the demo, but this is important. This is a big part of our roadmap here. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so rather than tell you, let's show you. What you're seeing here on the left is an example of conversational search. We do have a framework. It's called Rapid UI. It's just a way that we often deploy implementations. So there are multiple ways that you can represent a conversational search. So let me shut up, and rather than just talk to it, Jordan, why don't you show it off?
Yeah, no problem. So as you can see, it's scrolling through this this default implementation. I just wanted to highlight this for a second, the demo that's scrolling on the screen. This is a really fun example that we did where it's scraping through PDF documents and answering questions that they have based on content. So I just wanted to take a moment and highlight that while obviously our smart response is really powerful in a product situation, it also performs very well with content. Think about your frequently asked questions pages or documentation that your end users are looking for. We can answer the questions straight out of those documents. And then for conversational search, here's a little bit more of a traditional chatbot approach. Again, we can embed this under your search bar. You can imagine any number of different UI styles that you might want to use for something like this, but you can come to this conversational search and come with it with the same goal in mind that you had earlier, like what should my child take skiing? And you can see here it's coming back directly with a question or with some examples of products that are in this data set. You can imagine it obviously has all of the data that are with your products. You can click in. If you have custom UI, you could even directly add to cart straight from conversational search. If we reset this again, we can just say something like, help me choose a jacket for my son. And you could just answer these questions that it has here, like I'm looking for a 3-in-1 jacket. And this is an interesting response because I think that 3-in-1 is in a different data set. But even though you're requesting a 3-in-1 jacket, it knows, look, we don't have that in stock, but what we do have is the next best thing compared to what you're looking for, which is the Boys Gold 550 Turbo Down Hooded Down jacket.
Also, Jordan, if I can highlight, and we said this in the notes, but the thread is maintained. So it still knows you're talking about your son. That's why it's the Boys Gold. It wasn't recommending a girl's example there. So this is a smart response where it does understand that a thread is being maintained.
Yes. And then the other version of this experience that we have is just simply smart response. So you could ask a similar question. What should, it carried over the query from the last search, but let's just do, what should my child take skiing? And it'll probably repopulate a result here. But again, this is a great example of smart response. You have the layover as well as the products that they can directly click into. And in this case, the agent here is simply responsible for creating a little response with a single suggestion. You can program it or just prompt it to do a number of things like, for example, summarize the entire data set, try to directly answer a question that's in the smart response. Anything you would instruct a person, a salesperson, or someone who is an expert in this data to do, you can instruct the agent to do the same, and it will understand the data coming back from HawkSearch and break it down in an informative way, just like this.
That is a realization of Ari's dream, that the search bar becomes your best salesperson.
Yeah, that's it.
And, you know, I don't think when Ari first had that vision that there would actually be a conversation around the search bar. But this is where we're coming to. Cool. Well, thanks, Jordan. And thanks for showing multiple examples, because we're showing you references. In the end, this is all API driven. So if you're not using Rapid UI, and, you know, we throw these together in different ways to show you various options, but there's a lot of flexibility in how this works. And in the end, it's an API call.
Yeah. And to me, the exciting part about all of these solutions that we have is how they snowball on one another. When Ari talks about agentic search, we're truly an agentic platform. You leverage our AI tools in the workbench, and that adds relevancy to the concept search. You could do, you know, hidden fields that drive up the relevancy for the embedding model. And when you add all of these tools together, all you're doing is skyrocketing your relevancy.
Cool. All right. Well, let's get back to the PowerPoint. Thank you for the demo part. So we got this part, conversational search. These are all flavors, if you will, of a smart response. So you can go to the next one. We saw this one. This is the summary. So thanks for that. This is a specific answer. I know you mentioned this briefly, Jordan, but to be clear, we do have customers where it would be funny if you said, oh, the answer is in this PDF file. And then you realize that PDF file is 20 pages long.
Right.
How do you want me to find that answer? So it's not like the long kind of form answer that we were seeing before. It's the actual answer, which is indeed what Google does in its smart response, what they have as smart response. Okay, keep going. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these other features. I mentioned them briefly before. The idea is this is a lot of new options. I'd like to test them. I'd like to see how this goes against that. How does unified search go against a smart response, that type of thing. So we've already been moving some of the basic analytics from HawkSearch into E360, but now we're bringing, number one, more reports, but also we're capturing more data. Like, what was the search that was used, so that I can compare that information here. So at the high level headline, it's experimentation, but it really takes into account what we're doing and the investments inside of E360 and the ability to capture more data from different types of use cases that people are using and leveraging. Let's keep going. I realize we talked for too long. So one other thing, I'll just highlight it quickly. In some cases, when you're doing A/B testing, you may say, you know what, we want to work with a partner. So it's like, I get it, you guys do some things, that's great, but we have partnerships too. So the next one here is Optimizely. I think I have it in here, I may have removed it. Just go to the next slide here. Yep, so if you're familiar with Optimizely and you want to see that, if you use other tools like Dynamic Yield, we can show you how that works. So in some cases, yes, you're kind of leaning on us to do it. In other cases, you're already using a third party and you just want to know how can I test this, because I already use a third party. These are two common ones. There's others as well. So we have that expertise. Let's keep going. Okay, let's go to the next one, because I think it'll break it down a little bit more. Yeah. So you might also say, but if you are doing the experimentation and we're not using Optimizely, can you help us split the traffic? Can you help us with, the kind of the ins and outs? It'll never be the same level of sophistication as an Optimizely, but some of the basics would be there. So we do have a middleware that will split traffic and can do the basic fundamentals. So we have a two-pronged strategy. One is partner-driven and one is lightweight functionality that we offer ourselves. Go next. Okay, so we'll just end on automation, because the key aspect there is, as Ari was saying, there's a lot of reports, there's a lot of features, especially we have some customers, they manage multiple engines. Like, how can I track all of that? So if you go to the next one, it's essentially, rather than me always logging in all the time, is take that agent approach that we were saying before, that I mentioned this in the beginning, that's pointed at website visitors and making that a nice experience. Can't we take that and point it at HawkSearch and support the merchandisers, do analysis, look at the trends from the reports and make suggestions. So the same value proposition you're offering to your customers, you could offer to your internal operations, and that saves you time, that saves you money, and that's all under the category of automation. All right, I think,
Cool.
yeah, and then there's interfaces for how often do you want these updates and things like that. But sorry if we went a little bit over. I think we're ending just about on time.
Perfect.
So thank you for joining, Ari.
Relevancy equals conversion. We're all about increasing your traffic with things like landing pages, conversion, smart search, average order value, recommendations, and all the innovation is driven by your input. Please share your ideas. They turn into product features, which turns into your success. Thanks.
Cool. Thank you.
Bye-bye.